Welcome back to the channel. We're smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, greats, overachieving, never slacking. We are back today. We got 7 British things we don't have in America. So here we go. Original link will be in the description. Let's see what they have in Britain that we don't got. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of... Oh, how embarrassing. Sorry, just a bit of force of habit there. America, land of the free, home of the endless aisles in the grocery store. But despite sometimes feeling like they've got it all, there are many things that actually manage to elude most Americans. After moving to the UK 11 years ago, it took me some time to pick up on the lingo here. Sometimes it'd be something we already have a word for in American English that I'd have to learn, like, oh, when they say rocket, they don't mean a spaceship, they mean a plane. Arugula. But there exists a certain class of item that is so ubiquitous within the UK, and yet very much not a thing in the States. These are things that it took me a really long time to wrap my head around as an American, because, well, listen, everyone knows it here, they learn this stuff since childhood, and here I am, a grown adult, and it leaves me asking, what's a toilet brush? Well, this might blow your mind as a Brit. What do you mean you don't have toilet brushes in the States? I've seen what you eat. First off, rude. Secondly, true. But in America, we always have a plunger next to the toilet in case there's a clog. It's rare, but that's it. Toilets in America are much deeper and have much more water than British toilets do. Not only that, but from my experience, American toilets are just so much stronger than British ones. If you've ever been to America, I'm fairly certain you can attest to that. I found it odd that during a road trip in California I went on in 2022 with some British friends, my friend Luke comes out of the bathroom saying, "Why do you Americans fill your toilet bowls up with so much water? It's so full it wet my willy." Wow, I thought he was just trying to brag about the size of his peen, but no, it turns out this is a thing. Now, I'd say the idea of needing to brush away poo with a toilet brush is inevitably going to gross out a lot of Americans that have never heard of this before because, to be honest, it is pretty gross. But the most embarrassing thing about all of this is living with other British people, being a full-grown adult and having them go, "Why has no one ever taught you how to use a toilet brush before?" And you have to be like, "I didn't even know that's what that thing was in the corner. I didn't know what that was for. I thought maybe you use it like when you clean the bathroom, maybe every 2-3 weeks when you do a big clean of the house." Fair, that's what you'd use it for, not after every individual poo. But it's just, listen, I'm not used to having issues where a toilet leaves stains because American toilets don't do that. So yeah, it might be a little embarrassing, but you know, you live, you learn. Now I've got a really nice little toilet brush that tucks itself away whenever you're finished using it. So it's hidden, it's small, I like it. I think it looks better than most toilet brushes. If you're in...
That's different. I'm not used to not having a toilet that's not powerful. I mean, in America, you go to some places like certain hotels or certain restaurants where you just press a button and it, like the toilet's like a machine.
Mine, I'll put it in the description. But that being said, I would easily trade out this terrible British toilet, every British toilet I've ever had, for an American one if I could. Or, oh my God, the luxury, the Japanese toilet. But one can dream, maybe if I ever own 100% of a house rather than just 25% of one, so. But as you probably know, I live in a flat, and the developer is definitely not going to let me swap out the toilet, so. Toilet humor. Now, number 2, if you're someone with a uterus, it will cause you some pain, at least once a month. One thing I found odd living with so many different women in the UK is during that special time of the month, they always request one thing, a hot water bottle, or a hot water bottle. Imagine my confusion the first time someone asked me for that, like,
Hot water bottle?
"Oh, Evan, do you mind picking me up a hot water bottle when you're out?" Come again? Where do I get one of those? Greg's? Like, yeah, can I get a sausage roll, a yum yum, and where do you guys keep your hot water bottles? I didn't know. Jokes aside, it turns out a hot water bottle is a bottle of water heated up and placed in a soft fabric. They're usually sold as a whole item. It's not like you just put a water bottle in fabric. I guess you could, but some people like to place them on their stomachs during cramps, and others like to heat theirs up before putting it under the covers with them to keep them warm. Now, I personally would prefer just buying a higher tog duvet for those winter months, but that's just me. I don't get menstrual cramps, so that is my privilege. Now, you might be wondering, well, what the hell do Americans use to deal with cramps? You've seen the adverts, right? Drugs, lots of drugs. But no, I asked my American audience on Instagram what they use, and I got responses like hot rice. Hot rice? I get that's roughly the same thing, you know, kind of malleable, but I can't imagine just going into P.F. Chang's and being like, "I've got some cramps, give me that hot rice." And then you get different cramps. But no, it's basically the same thing. Instead of hot water bottles, it's like a bag of rice that's heated up and it's malleable just like water. So I guess that makes sense. Now, I asked a few of my girlfriends across the pond, as well as those in the UK, and my British friends pretty much unanimously did say they use a hot water bottle. Some of them said they just take a hot bath, whereas my American friends did say they either take rice, a drug called My Doll, or they use an electric heating pad, which is very similar to a hot water
Yeah, I hear about the heating pad all the time.
bottle, but you plug it in, charges it. It's more of the future, though way less energy efficient. But then again, that depends on how you're heating your water in your hot water bottle, because as a related item that is really rare in the States that may make you nod your head and go, ah, that makes sense. Americans don't really have electric kettles, so it's not really as convenient to quickly boil some water to put in your hot water bottle. I made an entire video about this way, America's lack of electric kettles already, and the reasons, so I'll link that above. Now, Britain is a really, really rainy isle, and pretty much every Brit I've met from as young as 8 to as old as 90 owns a pair of wellies, the cute word for Wellington boots, which are quite rare in the US.
I think those are cute, honestly. I like them. I like them.
Being in Britain, you're just expected to know what a wellie is, and when you're invited to go to a festival, you're told everyone there will be in wellies, but, well, I've never owned a pair.
All right, so seeing people walk around and, I guess I'm just thinking about the kids with the yellow boots.
They're mostly used here for country walks, which is one of the biggest British pastimes. We do have rain boots in the States, but the style of long rubber tube that's so much in Britain isn't really as big a thing. They do exist, just not as big. Now, growing up in New Jersey, I think myself and many Americans owned a pair of duck boots from LL Bean. They're also where I get like my flannels from, like this one. They're kind of like the Americana outdoorsy brand version of John Lewis, if that makes sense. Duck boots are like peak rainwear men's fashion in America. Though, if you've never seen them before today, I'd love
He's 100% correct.
to hear what you think of them, because I feel like some people probably hate the way they look, but I don't know. I think they look good for rain boots. They're rain boots, and they kind of give that nice outdoorsy vibe. But I mean, they're a little pricier than wellies, and wellies are a much cuter name, I'll give you that. Brits always have a much cuter name. And also, from what I've heard, putting on a pair of British rain boots is well easy. So there's your bad pun. But speaking of waterproof shoes, this video sponsor, just kidding. It's not. Just false alarm. I had you. I had you. All right, moving along. We're now halfway there, so if this isn't your first vid of mine, you have to click the subscribe button. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I'll be squashing any dissent. But speaking of squash, it does exist in the States. But it's just a vegetable. We have some butternut squash, different types of squash, or a fruit, I guess. I mean, if you want to be pedantic, squash is technically a fruit. But squash in the UK only refers to 3 nouns. One is the same vegetable we have in the States, and the other 2 are similar enough, but also comically different if you come from a different country like I do. At this point, I'd lived in the UK for over a year or so I was staying over at a friend's house, and it turns out they had squash. I had heard Brits really loved squash, so I poured myself a glass, and good lord, did I wince? Brits always love bullying Americans for how sugary their food and their drink is, but Jesus, that cup of squash was so much like liquid sugar. Like, it was both thin and thick at the same time, like maple syrup, like someone condensed 2 bottles of Sunny D into a single glass. Now, I'm assuming this is a common mistake for migrants to make the move to the UK, but squash refers to not only the drink you make with squash, but also squash. So it's a bottle of concentrated sugar and fruit syrup that you mix with like 5, 6, 7 parts water, but it's also the drink that you mix together. So how was I to know I was supposed to mix, all right? You don't think someone says they drink a drink and you're supposed to like read the instructions that say mix it with things. So yeah, I drank the double concentration
Americans aren't too big on instructions, guys.
Robinsons. It was not nice. This is the one I just picked up from the local store. It's called Ribena.
Do you own your home in Pennsylvania, but still?
Yes, I do own my home in Pennsylvania. Might have to go back to that video, see what she's talking about.
And I will be honest, it's not bad. I personally just really enjoy water. I like, water's my favorite drink. I know that's super lame, but also it's the best drink. So what's wrong with you if you don't like water? But this, a small amount of this really just, it gives this a nice kick. And from what I've seen, this isn't too unhealthy, so I mean, I can see the appeal of it, especially if you've got kids and they're like, "Mommy, I want to drink soda." And you're like, "Sorry, I consider that a form of abuse." I suppose this is actually a healthy compromise. But this isn't just any ordinary squash. This is the most popular flavor of it. And in fact, one of the most popular fruity flavors in all of Britain that is practically non-existent in the States. And that, of course, is blackcurrant. Unless you've moved countries like I have, you'll never really understand the confusion that comes from seeing and hearing something all around you that seems so incredibly commonplace that you begin to question whether or not it also existed where you're from and maybe you were just living under some sort of rock. But no, Brits just love blackcurrants and they use the flavor in everything. Pies, jams, drinks, medicines, Skittles. Even the purple Skittle is actually blackcurrant flavor, which is such a shame. Because blackcurrant is just so mid. I'm sorry, but it's just not that good. Now, some of these on my list, you might say, hey, I know some Americans with wellies, or hey, I actually knew a few Americans that had hot water bottles, but blackcurrant is almost completely unknown to Americans, with less than 0.1% of Americans having
I thought those were blueberries at first. I've never heard of a black currant ever.
even had a blackcurrant in their lives. I might actually make an entire extra video about this topic because I find it so interesting, and I think you will too, but spoiler alert, basically blackcurrants were banned in the States for many, many years, and so we found something better, the grape. Okay, we have grape flavored things, and grapes are delicious. Obviously grapes exist in the UK too, but not really the grape flavor. You cannot find many grape flavored things here as it's been replaced with a worse fruit, the blackcurrant. If you never have had grape jelly before, you're missing out. Sadly, every UK supermarket I've ever been to, they got strawberry jam, they got raspberry jam, they don't have any grape jelly.
I mean, strawberry jam is pretty delicious, brother. I'm not even gonna lie. Strawberry jam is delicious.
I don't know why I said it like that, but I just miss grape jelly so much. It's just got a specific flavor that's so nice. Grape soda, grape jelly, the grape skittle. You guys don't know what you're missing out on, all right? Think about it like this. If you like wine...
I do love grape. I will say that's probably my favorite flavor, though.
That's made out of grapes, right? You'd probably like grape flavors too, and you'd switch to being on Team Grape-up. God, that was a bad pun. I just plugged them in where they don't fit. Now, speaking of switching and plugs, I'm really trying with these segues, guys. We all know that British electrical plugs are superior as a feat of engineering that prevents shocks. I couldn't tell you the amount of times that I was shocked as a child, physically shocked, by unplugging or plugging in my Nintendo and whatnot. I could. It's probably like at least 4 times, but I remember each of those times because I'm in formative years and I learned very early on to be very afraid of outlets. It was genuinely scary, and that's pretty much not a thing here due to how British plugs are designed. They're like butterscotch in that they're always grounded. When I told this story to my friend Luke, he looked at me like I had 3 heads and went, how is that supposed to be a shared experience? I've never been shocked. So kids here, they get to have safe outlets. Lucky you. But what you might not know is those incredibly commonplace switches next to every single British outlet to allow you to cut off power specifically to that single appliance are practically non-existent in the US. Yeah, I know, another reason to fear American electronics. Now you might think having switches on outlets is a little bit extra, but there are 3 big perks to this. 1, it's nice to have another way to turn off an appliance. Extra ways to control your home is surely going to be a good idea, right? 2, a lot of appliances these days, even when you have them powered off, still use a small amount of energy. For instance, all the smart lights I have in my house, they're always listening, you know, whether I tell them to turn off and whatnot. So cutting the power at the outlet, if that's what you're into, would save you a little bit of energy at least, especially during cozy lives. But the biggest reason they're mandatory in the UK is for how much safer they make plugging things in. In America, when you plug a plug-in to a powered-on outlet, as the pins get closer to where you're connecting to, you may have some electricity jumping out or arcing to connect to the pins, and other times you hear that terrifying crackle sound as things connect. I've definitely had more than one outlet in the States that ended up burned like this. But if the US kept their same plug style and everything else, but added only switches to the outlets, it would pretty much solve that problem. If the outlet is powered off when you plug in, there's no current to leap to your pins. Then you simply turn on the power, boop, with the switch, and everything's nice and snug. No arcing. Isn't that nice? Now, luckily for us in the UK, that is never really needed for that safety precaution because there's already 2 other safety precautions in place, such as having the ground pin mandatory in all British plugs and having it be a little longer so when you are plugging it in, it's always grounded. Also, insulation on the upper half of the plug. There's so many good perks to the British plug. This is one of those things where I'm just surprised that at least in the US, they don't just adopt one extra thing, like just for safety. Plus, in the event that something goes horribly wrong and maybe someone is getting shocked from their wire, well, all you have to do is flip the switch and they're fine. As opposed to having someone pull out the wire that's currently causing shocks, not a good idea, or I guess running to turn it off at the mains, which judging from the size of most American homes, by the time you come back, that person has been electrocuted. So it just makes sense to add switches to outlets. Now, as an
The UK, they just seem like what they do is a lot more just thought out. Their accuracy with things, they think more so what's more helpful. You know, like for example, looking at the grape juice and putting like that instead of soda. You know, like they go for the smarter options. Where it seems like us Americans, we're just a little more reckless, just a little bit.
Added little fact, in England and Wales, roughly 7 people die per year due to electrocution in a domestic setting, whereas in the US, that number is dwarfed by children alone dying from shocks. Like I said, it is very much a standard American experience to be shocked as a child. Eventually you realize maybe don't stick a fork in there. Also, I do just want to point out that I'm not an electrician. I know being on YouTube, people expect you to know everything. I do not. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So there will probably be someone much smarter than me in the comments that's an electrician, what do they call him here, a Sparky, who's gonna give you a lot of fun facts. So check the comment section if I've said something silly. But where exactly is my comment section anyway?
It's underneath you.
Oh, it's under me. Thanks. Well, in America, that sort of crowd involvement where you break the fourth wall in a bit is not really something that is done ever except in like Dora the Explorer, like, hey, ¿dónde está Swiper? Cerca del lago. Gracias, está allí. Yes, my Spanish is coming along okay, thanks for asking, Dora. But besides Dora, it's really not a thing. However, over here, Brits absolutely love their pantomimes, or pantos as they like to call them, which are really, really popular during the Christmas period. And if you thought Dora the Explorer was just some sort of fun show for children, you'd be surprised. Adults here absolutely get super involved in the pantos as well. I've seen a little panto at Kew Gardens once, and it involved a fairy, I think. In fact, I think most traditionally are based on old children's stories, but simply put, it's a performance where the cast are like, what? And the crowd is like, he's right there, or he's behind you, it's on your dress, something like that. If I said something like, you all subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'd say,
oh, no, you don't.
Damn, I was hoping for, yes, we do. But I appreciate the, reality check, that's fine. Now, I can see the appeal of being more involved in a show, but they're okay. Maybe it's because I've never been to like a real one. If you have any good recommendations for ones in London, I'd be open to hearing. But if you try explaining the concept of a pantomime to an American, they'll probably just look at you like you've got 3 heads, as pantomime in American English is pretty much, gonna be a silent performance with mimes. At least that's what I would have thought it would be. Whereas it's quite literally the opposite of a silent performance. And assumably the American will probably also bring up Dora the Explorer. She's just that super cool exploradora. You wanna know what a real panto is like? Well, let me ask you a question. Does anyone know where I can build a professional looking website?
Squarespace.
Oh yeah, thanks. That's coincidental because today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Your all-in-one website builder, Squarespace offers loads of sleek-looking templates that you can use to hit the ground running and build the website of your dreams. But where did I put that portfolio on my website?
It's right behind you.
Oh, it's behind me. Sorry. Blame my editor for that. Using Squarespace, you can now build a website like mine with a portfolio, a blog, a web store, whatever you need to have a professional looking hub for your online life. A lot of websites have pretty bad customer support. Yeah, I know, right? But Squarespace has 24/7 customer support.
Yay!
Yeah, so pretty good actually. And so if you sign up to squarespace.com/Evan Edinger, you can try it for 14 days for free. And when you love it, you can use code Evan Edinger at checkout to get 10% off. So thanks Squarespace for sponsoring today's video and taking part in this odd panto. I do appreciate it. They approve all my weird ads. So thanks Squarespace. Now let's wrap this up. I hope you liked this video as I kind of whipped it up real quick while I've been spending a huge amount of time processing this big video that I've been working on for next week, supposed to be this week, and there's a couple biggies after that. I've been really spending a lot more time researching and scripting the big vids and putting some fun ones like this in between. So hope you like it. But if you do like these videos on words, I do have another video on some British words that I now use all the time. I'll link that above. Otherwise, I'll see you there. Bye.
Much love. So that was a pretty cool video. I definitely like his character. Very funny guy in a good way. But okay, so the grape. Grape is probably my favorite flavor. What was it called again? Those concurrent something. Let me see what they're called. That fruit.
Or hey, I actually knew a few Americans that had hot water bottles. In the States for many, many years. The blackcurrant. If you never have had
the blackcurrant, yeah, I never heard of that. Like I said, when I first seen it on the screen, I thought maybe it's some type of blueberry. No, something different. But I'm not afraid of different. So the only thing, like I said, grape probably is my favorite flavor. But either way, I kind of try to stay away from a lot of just artificial stuff anyway. But strawberry, the fact that they have strawberry jam, I don't think that's something to complain about, because strawberry jam is delicious. Strawberry in general is amazing. So That's cool. Hot water bottle. This was my first time really hearing about that. Like I said, you're used to hearing women use the heating pads when they have cramps and things like that. But still, it sounds smart, right? It doesn't sound like a bad idea. It's maybe a little odd to us as Americans because we're just not used to certain things, like the whole toilet that. Yeah, I'm used to powerful toilets. I mean, there was this hotel I went to in Buffalo, New York, and it was so nice that the toilet literally, like, you would press something. You had all these different buttons. You press something and it just right on. It's like this little pad and it just flushes super quick, or it could spray you. Yes, it could spray you. Like, oh yeah, it'll clean you. I mean, this was like probably the most expensive toilet I've ever seen. The most fancy, just you will see some interesting, powerful toilets in America for sure. That is a fact. That is a fact. But overall, I just feel like the UK. I just feel like they're more structured in what they do and more about safety, which is super awesome. That's how it should be. I feel like Americans are just a little more, I guess, reckless, and uh, we're more so about bigger and fancier, right? Or bigger and stronger and powerful and the fastest way, and we don't think. I just feel like it's just a difference in the thinking. But I respect and appreciate the Brits' thinking. I feel like they're a lot more just polished in their way of thinking. They're a lot more, I'd even say, strategical, right? So, with that being said, it wasn't too much differences though. Not. It was only seven, but it wasn't like anything that really shocked me to where I'm like, oh man, a couple adjustments, right? Some people probably don't even notice too much. No, I'm sure they notice. The toilet, they definitely notice. Not having grape, yeah, I gotta go back to that grape. Definitely notice, right? Someone asked me for a hot water bottle. I definitely don't even mind me with that pronunciation. But if someone tried to, if someone asked me for a hot water bottle, yeah, it would be odd. I'm not gonna lie, it would definitely be odd. But with that being said, that was seven British things we don't have in America. And the original link will be in the description. Let me know what you think about that video, and I'll be back with more soon. Much love, yeah.